G'day guys, welcome to another 5-Minute Friday video. In these videos I like to select a topic about running and talk about it and try and keep it within a 5-minute time frame. Now in this video I'm going to talk about tapering for a marathon. This is a subject that is really all about what works best for you, and obviously tapering will look different depending on what distance you're covering in your goal event. I have tried a few variations of tapering over the years, and I'm going to focus on the methods I have used for the marathon. Now this topic came about from a viewer on the channel, Stuart, who was searching for some ideas to taper for a state duathlon championship. That's a run, cycle, run format, I believe. Now I'm not sure if the suggestions I gave Stuart helped or not, but he did finish 4th in his age group with the 2nd fastest run time. So huge kudos to you, Stuart. Let's dive into tapering for a marathon. Now, every marathon training plan should end with a taper. I know some runners can just plow through a training plan without a taper, but if you're searching for an optimal performance, then there's a good chance a taper is going to help you achieve your goal. I've used everything from a few days to a few weeks for a taper, and with varying degrees of success. I've even tried a high mileage taper. So let's start with a short taper of less than 7 days. Now I used this taper for the Gold Coast Marathon back in 2016. I went with this length of time because 3 weeks earlier I had completed an Ironman. Yep. That's right, a 3.8 kilometre swim, 180 kilometre bike ride and a marathon run. I know what you're all thinking. What were you thinking? But to be honest, I was still chasing a sub 3 hour marathon at the time. I had an entry for the Gold Coast race and I thought, why not? I knew I had the miles in the legs after the Ironman. So between the Ironman and the marathon, I did 2 20k runs, 1 30k run, mixed in and around some shorter runs, and then a few days to the taper, which looked a little bit like this. 48k the week after Ironman, 90k the week before the marathon, and then the short taper into race day. Not ideal, and I guess in hindsight I would never do this again. I felt okay early in the marathon, but guess what? Late in the race, the fatigue really set in. I was just off 3 hour pace at halfway with a 90-16 split, but tired late for a final time of 3:04:40. But it did prove that a short taper could work. Maybe, just maybe, don't do an Ironman 3 weeks before. Now also, keep in mind that I had done a truckload of work to get ready for the Ironman, and I was probably the fittest I had ever been. It was just that recovery period. 3 weeks was just not long enough from Ironman to a marathon. Anyway, a year earlier, I had used a 1 week taper, coming into the race day off consecutive weeks of 101 and 88 kilometres before a taper week that looked like this. But I still had a miss on the sub 3 hour attempt. I was under pace at halfway with an 89.03 split, but from the 30k, the wheels really did begin to fall off, and I had to settle for a PB of 3:01:59. So fast forward to 2017 and I finally got the taper right. Well, for me anyway. I didn't drop the mileage quite as much as I had in previous attempts at the sub 3 hour marathon. This time I just eased back on the mileage a little each week in the last month or so. So in the 4 weeks leading into race day, as you can see here, my weekly mileage was 146, 130, 125 and 105k, and then 50k in the race week before the big day. This was completely a step away from the traditional tapers I had done in the past. These big mileage weeks included 1 rest day and 1 double up day each week, so I was still getting 7 sessions but was only running 6 days a week. But I felt really strong on race day, whereas in the past I'd hit the wall late in those marathons. This time I hit halfway in 88.31 and was able to negative split the marathon with a back half of 87.35, giving me a 2:56.06, my first sub 3 marathon at age 51. Finally, I had found my secret tapering recipe for the marathon. As I said in the beginning, Tapering is all about finding what works best for you. I guess I thrived on keeping the mileage high, but there'd been a lot of trial and error to get to that point. It had taken me 13 marathons to find that right formula to peak on race day. You've got to keep trying different methods until you can find your sweet spot. Just remember one thing, it doesn't matter how good your taper is. It'll mean diddly squat if you haven't done the work earlier in your training program. So do the hard yards and then enjoy the taper. Now going back to Stuart, I suggested he try culling his normally weekly mileage from 3 weeks out to 60% of his normal week, 2 weeks out at 50%, and then another 50% off again in that final week. Then have 2 days off completely before a shakeout run the day before race day. Not sure if he followed this plan, but his email suggested he was more than happy with his performance. There you go guys, my take on tapering for a marathon. Hope you can find the right balance to crush your race day goals. Let me know in the comments down below how you go about tapering for your goal event. How'd I go over the time? Did I beat that 5 minutes? Let's hope so. Alright, if you have a topic you'd like me to talk about, then leave a suggestion down in the comments below and it might feature in a future video here on the channel. If you've made it all the way through to the end of this video, really do appreciate you watching. And don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already. Those two things really help the channel to grow guys, so I would really appreciate it. And finally, here's some more videos from the channel that you might enjoy. Until next time guys, stay safe, happy running, and I'll catch you then. Hooroo!